Hello coders, welcome back to my video. So in the series of libraries in C, I will be taking libcurl today. Okay, so we'll see what is a libcurl, why we use a libcurl, where is it used. We'll see what are the common APIs that we are using in libcurl. And the last, we'll take an example of using the libcurl APIs in our program to make our work easier. Okay. So the first thing is what is libcurl? So libcurl, if you see, it's a client-side URL transfer library that is written purely in C only. Okay, it supports various protocols like we have HTTP, we have FTP, SFTP, MQTT, and many other protocols. So these all protocols are being supported by libcurl only. Okay. So second point is why we are using this libcurl library, though this libcurl also uses this socket APIs. So we can directly use the socket API and make our program faster, but it's not the case here. So if you are using the libcurl, you don't have to wait for any type of errors that is coming and you have to solve that errors. So the lot of debugging that we need when we are using the raw socket, that is mitigated in this libcurl, because this is being used in lot of other libraries. So all the other libraries have dependency of this library. So in spite of writing the socket code again and again with the error codes, with other things, we can use this libcurl and make our work easy. Okay, so what are the things that libcurl can use? So libcurl can directly, send a REST API to a web server and get a response, and then it will parse the response and give us the output. Okay, so there are a lot of features that we can add. So for example, if we need HTTP support, we can use it. If we want to download a firmware in a client device or a router, we can make use of libcurl and we can fetch it. So the code that we are using in libcurl is very robust, so that's why we are using this library. So what libcurl actually provides is HTTP request response handling. So first is this thing. So we have a HTTP web server, and there we need to get the data from there. So what we will do, we'll use few of the APIs, so the code won't be much longer. So maximum 2 3 APIs we can get that HTTP response as well. Okay, then if we want our communication with that server robust or secured, then we can use the SSL feature of this HTTP with TLS certificates. Okay, we can have redirect handling as well. We can only use a single flag for redirect operation. For example, uh, we are fetching some data from a remote server, and the data is found, and the web server responds with 403 so that it can redirect to some other place where the data is actually present. So in that case, redirect handling is required. So this all things be handled by libcurl only. They can use this authentication methods as well. So they have APIs and internal functions that will handle the authentication. Then, for example, timeouts and retries. So in case of a firmware download, if due to some network connectivity issue, uh, we the connection got lost, then we need to retry it few times to get that data again. So in that case, this libcurl can help us. Okay, then we have IPv4 and IPv6 port is there, proxy support is there, and connection reuse. For example, keep live session. For example, we have a TCP connection with the server, and we want that connection to be live always. So we'll check it again and again after some time to get the state of the stream. So that also can be done using this libcurl uh, APIs. Okay, so this is the overall architecture of using libcurl. So if we go from the left side, you will see an application C program here. Okay, So first we have a curl pointer, and the first API we use is curl easy init. That will create an environment for this library to hold the other API's data as well and process it. And the second, if you see here, first the environment is set, then you can use uh, a variable and you can use curl option. So this is a flag, and we are using this curl easy setup. So this option is set, and we are getting giving some values for the URL from where we are getting the data. For example, a HTTP server address we can give it here. And we'll set this option in that library. So next we have to set an option of curl up HTTP header or something like this. So this we can also provide. Okay. Then we have some write function or some callback function that we can also give. And then we have this curl easy perform curl. So this will actually initiate uh, the request. Whatever data we have created over here, it will push it, and then we are cleaning this object. Okay, so this is a simple C program that we will be using, and these are three or four APIs we are using here. So once this libcurl APIs are initiated, what will happen actually? In the library side, this is the section which is being executed. Okay, so the first is a easy interface that is done by this easy init, and then we have option handlers. Then we have some protocols, for example, HTTP, FTP, or various layers, whatever we are using here. We can take a data over to this library, and then we have the connection management. For example, we need keep alive, reuse, or redirect. So these all options are there in the library itself. And if we want the secured connection for TLS or SSL layer, then we can use this layer. And at the last, we have a socket layer that will create the socket, get the data, and fetch the response. And whenever we will fetch, we have a callback that will process our data that is coming. So actually the path will be first from the program to this libcurl library, and this libcurl library will create a request at easy perform, and it will go to the internet, and then it will go to the server. So server can be web server, Nginx, Apache, or Python scripts, whatever we want. And we have this REST API feature on that server. We have some file or data as well. So whatever we have requested to the server, it will give you some response in the HTTP format. So whatever response we'll get, we will process it through these callbacks and we'll get the data. And similarly, this is the full flow from the program to the library to the server itself. Okay, so I think this is simple. So if you see here, this is the typical flow I've shown here. So it will create your handlers. It will set the option. It will perform the request. Okay, libcurl resolve DNS and create connection errors. Okay, so request is sent to the server. Response is received and passed to the callbacks. And here we have cleanup at the last. So if you see here, we have a simple libcurl client running on some router. It will send a request. This is the HTTP GET request on the server, and it will give you some HTTP response, for example, 200 OK. And this data is been processed by this client again, and depending on that, it will process. Okay. So what are the key feature? So I already discussed. I think this is pretty much clear about the design of this libcurl and how the request is processed. So next we will see what are the common APIs that we are using in libcurl. So I have created a simple list. It's not I put all, but these are the most common that we are using. So we have this global init for initialization of the libcurl. Then we have global cleanup as well. So once we initialize this library, we have to remove our uh, environment variables as well. Okay, so here we have seen here easy in it you will create a curl handler to handle your HTTP request. Okay, then we have set option, and here we have to perform some network transfer. For example, we are sending some packet to the server. We are getting some transfer information through this API. We have cleanup, we have errors, and if you want to add some HTTP headers additional to that, you can append it over here, and you can free the HTTP header list as well. And these are the some related flags that we can use with these APIs. Okay. So how to exactly use these APIs in our program so that we can get some data from the server itself. So for that, I'll give you a simple snippet of using the libcurl, and I will give you all the detail how to compile it, how to process it. Okay, then you can try of your own on some Ubuntu laptop or Linux to get more insight of this. Okay, so here is a snippet in which I am accessing some website, a fake website. You can take any of your web server address here. Oh, for example, here we start with the handler first. So we have the first one as curl easy init. Okay. So once this handler is created, if not, we will return one. And then we have to set option for the URL of your web server. Okay. So here we are setting, for example, HTTP binog for GET request. Okay. So set option, we have curl of follow location. So this is a redirect operation, so it will take automatically the redirection from the web server. For example, the web server have the data in some other server, so it will redirect your operations to that server and will fetch the data from there. Okay, so next, this is the main to trigger our request. So once we trigger our request, we will check for the response. So here we have the error. So if this result is not equal to curl OK, so it is a fail case, then it will print the error. If not, if it got cleared, so we'll clearing it up. Actually, in both the cases, whether it's fail or not, we're clearing it and we'll return it. So what it will do, it will send some request and it will check for the error. Simple as that. Okay. So how to compile this code in your Ubuntu. So here, if you see, you have the curl curl.h. So this is a header file related to your library. And how to compile it? We have gcc get.c. For example, the file name is get.c -o get, and we are externally adding this library to compile these APIs. Okay, for this all curl APIs, we do -n curl. So if you don't have the development library of libcurl in your system, it will not compile. So what you have to do if this libcurl developer library is not there, you have to install it. Simple. So you should update it, and you should install this dev package. Okay. So for example, if you have libcurl 4 already in your system, or maybe this version can change depending on your Ubuntu version, but you have to check for this dev package only. So if you put this dev package, then you will get the curl.h file in your include folder of your Ubuntu or Linux. Okay, so after that, it will compile this program and it will send the request uh, to your web server and it will get the response. Okay, so this is very basic what we have discussed today. So in the next video, what we'll do, we'll take a live example running a web server and we are getting the response and process it. Okay, so stay tuned with me for